Alright, in this segment we'll be talking about fish and corals, which is the fun part really. In this tank right now we have a pair of true percula clownfish that are hosting this massive elegance coral. We have a powder brown tang, which is very aggressive and we want to get rid of. This lime green wrasse. We have the little blue tang here, which quite likes hanging out with the clownfish, which is pretty good. And that's why we want to get rid of the brown tang, because it keeps attacking the blue tang and the clownfish and it's hurting them, so that's why we want to get rid of it. We've got the yellow tang, and we've got two blue-green reef chromis, because the other two sadly died. Corals, we have so many. Assortment of corallimorph mushrooms. Of course we have the massive elegance, we have a few zoanthids, we have your euphyllias up here, so you've got your hammer corals here. There's a frog spawn at the back. We've got Trachophilia, two here. There's a reddish one and a green one. We've got a Duncan coral, gorilla nipples coral, and some seagrass, leathers, and montiporas, and heaps of corals. And one of the fish that we have is the mandarin fish, which always is eating lots of copepods, which if you want to get one, you want to have your tank for at least 6 months so it can settle in and so it can build up lots of bacteria and build up lots of copepods. If you're a beginner looking for certain types of corals, I would probably say this xenia at the back here that's just below the pump, this white coral. There's these leather corals, the hammer corals and frog spawns, the mushrooms, zoas. They're fairly easy to look after, but you want to really have them when you're a bit more intermediate. Stay away from SPS really if you're a beginner, but when you get more into it, if you want SPS, you probably want to have an SPS dominant tank, because they tend to really be sensitive to other corals, leaching chemicals. They really just want to be by themselves really, because they're really sensitive corals. And yeah, that's probably some beginner corals. And well, with fish, clownfish, that's a really good choice. I mean, these are the only pair of clownfish that I've had to survive, because they're hardy fish, but with my clownfish they've always been really susceptible to marine velvet and ick, ick is like a parasite that latches onto the fish's skin and just, it's almost like a tick but underwater. So there's some pretty good fish. A blue tang is really, it's a good fish to have, it's just really, really susceptible to ick. But if you do lots of water changes to get rid of the ick, if you had a UV sterilizer and maybe even a cleaner wrasse if you have plenty of fish, that would really help. But yeah, I would recommend a blue tang, just maybe not if you don't have the right equipment to get rid of ick and prevent it. And you also have to have a really good sized tank, because a lot of people tend to put tangs in a small sized tank, thinking that they could survive there, but really it stunts their growth and it's really unhealthy for them. So you probably want a tank that's at least 100 litres, at least 100 litres just to have one tang. And there'd be some beginner fish, and other fish, really good fish to have is gobies, just not the mandarin fish, that's not as easy as the other gobies. Gobies and blangs are really good. These like lime green wrasse, really easy. And with our fish, because we've got quite a lot, we have to feed it over 5 times a day, because what you want to do is feed it in lots of feedings, but in small feedings. Because if you do one massive feeding, it fills them up, but then they poo it out and then they're hungry for the rest of the day, and that makes the fish quite unhealthy. So yeah, if you feed them like 5 times a day, they'll be really healthy and thriving. And for like clams and this little brownish coral thing up here, those both absorb nitrates and phosphates. We'll be telling you about those in another segment. But yeah, things that absorb nitrates and phosphates, and having a really good protein skimmer can really help with your fish and corals. Again, this is my sump. I've got a Twinsy protein skimmer, a Reef Octopus phosphate reactor, some Aqua One ceramic rings. We've got another Twinsy return pump. We've got a UV sterilizer from Vector. We've got 3 dosing pumps, only 2 are running right now, which are running calcium and alkalinity. And we've got a Twinsy auto top off, which that's where it comes from.